What is the meaning of
The meaning
What is the meaning of life?
of life.
Meaning.
What do you think the meaning to life is?
I know, that was a little extreme. So let's take it back to simpler times, where all of this started for me. On my girlfriend's balcony 48 hours ago, an hour and a half into eating the rest of a psilocybin extract chocolate, aka magic mushrooms.
Because of why? Because of why? Because of why? Because of what is the reason for anything? What is the reason for anything? Day after day after day after day, what am I doing here? Reality is so
Okay, I guess we start researching now. Got a notebook. I'm gonna call it My Last Hope. Nah, that's a little too depressing. Almost My Last Hope. Seems better. Agreeing with the statement, I have a philosophy of life that helps me understand who I am. Okay, I don't understand how this pertains to the meaning of life in general at all. But let me just break down real quick what we're looking for. We're not looking for fixes to life. We're not looking for help on how to live life better. We're looking for the actual answer, what is the meaning to life? Ooh, a book. So in this book, The Meaning of Life, it keeps talking about the questions itself, and I understand that the question itself is sort of meaningless, right? Because the question doesn't exist without us. If something doesn't exist without us, then there can't be a meaning outside of us, right? I mean, at least that's how I kind of equate that. But he said in the book, he said,
because the will is purely self-determining, it has its end within itself. This means that it simply uses us and the rest of creation. We may believe that our lives have value and meaning, but the truth is we exist simply as the helpless instruments of the will's blind, futile self-reproduction. The will must fool us into believing that our lives do indeed have meaning, and it does so by evolving in us a clumsy mechanism of self-deception known as consciousness.
this one gets me. Like, why is there anything at all rather than nothing? Could it be that the meaning of life isn't so in-depth, it's simply something rather than nothing? You can't have meaning in nothing, so once you create something, then you can have meaning. I think the thing is, if we're the first something, but then no matter what, if you trace everything back, something has to come from does something come from nothing? We trace everything back to the Big Bang, but that could also just be our interpretation of a computer system that is a simulation. We understand these things in human terms, right? Mathematically, we can equate something that is the answer to something else, and if we are a simulation, then boom, we have a meaning of life. It's whatever the reason for that simulation is to be created. It's to enact that. But is that what you want to enact? Ooh, geez, man, this question seems so flawed. Why do we want meaning out of life? Like, why? I don't get it. I don't get why I want a meaning out of my life. If you found out without a doubt what the specific meaning to life was, and it required you to leave everyone you've ever known and loved behind, would you do it?
The meaning of life? I suppose it depends on what I would accomplish in doing so. I would need to know what that would accomplish.
You would fulfill the meaning to life.
That's such a broad thing to say. I would need to know what it is first before I made that decision.
That's a good question. Honestly, I would.
I mean, with the limited time I have to answer these, I don't know if I could even sway one direction. I mean, I worked hard to get these great people in my life, so I don't know if I could just let that go overnight. I can't answer that question. I'm thinking about it too. I'm like, wait, so even if there is a meaning of life, I care more about the people around me than I do about that. Because that's your reality. So it's like, oh. You're taking away your full reality, which is your friend group, your parents, your grandparents, if you have siblings,
But then if, say, fulfilling the meaning to life makes life better for everybody, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Well, if you look at it that way, it'd be a small sacrifice.
Of course,
Yeah.
but like if it didn't do that, then I don't know. It's a hard question.
But you wrote it.
Now this throws me in even more of a loop. So if I'm not genuinely seeking the meaning of life, and I'm just seeking purpose in my life or meaning for my life personally, because I'm not willing to leave everything behind for the genuine meaning of life, then what am I even asking? Does that mean that there can't be a meaning of life? Or can there be a meaning of life and we just don't want to fulfill it? Or can there be a meaning of life that is worthy? Because if the meaning of life is worthy, then what I'm saying now doesn't matter at all. Does this mean that the meaning of life has the potential to let me down? But if my personal opinion validates the meaning of life, everybody differs on their opinion. That means some people will see it as the true meaning of life and other people won't. No, there's gotta be something that makes sense for all of this. But then what if there's a meaning of life that validates everything I'm saying right now? What if the meaning of life is that you are having a meaning of life? I don't know, let's keep going.
Okay, he said another thing that was really interesting. What if there was a meaning to life, but it was preferable for us not to know it? Like, what if us knowing means we're not able to achieve the meaning, right?
Dealing with a question of stupid topic, but the meaning of life. Right? What's the meaning?
How could that be stupid, though?
Well, in a
it's
sense,
just trite.
It's trite. You're not supposed to think about it. It's something you ask your parents when you're young.
Yes.
They tell you don't worry about it, or they say
Go get a job, hippie.
Yeah, exactly. Go get a job, you freaking hippie. Or here's God. God is the meaning of life, right?
Yeah.
And so at a core level, I was forced to kind of hunt down all these weird little things and really understand for myself. And it's got to be personal. And that gave me some level of peace. So now I don't have to keep asking that question.
What is the meaning of life?
If I gave you an answer, if I said the meaning of life is to please God, well, which God? Okay, Judeo-Christian God. Well, okay, why that one? Why this thing? The problem is it's a why question. And you end up in a place called Agrippa's trilemma. And Agrippa's trilemma says that any questioning like this, why, will always end in one of three places. Okay? First is infinite regress. Right? Why? Because of this. Why that? Why that? And just keep going forever. The second is circular reasoning. Well, A. Why A? Because of B. Well, why B? Because of A. Right? You get trapped in that. Or the third is an axiom. And the most popular axiom is God. Saying simulation, we're in a simulation, or saying it's the Big Bang is just another way of saying God. It's just, God's a dirty word, so we don't use it as much anymore, but same thing. So you end up in one of these three dead ends, essentially. The real answer is because.
All the great questions are paradoxes.
Yeah.
So, for example, you're asking, like, do I matter? That's like really the question you asked, right? Well, how do I matter in this infinite universe? Well, you know, on the one hand, you're separate. No 2 points are the same. Every 2 points are infinitely different. You're completely separated. No one will have your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, your experience. So your life is a single player game. You're trapped inside your head and you're just aware of a bunch of things going on, and that's it. On the other hand, I cannot say the word Joe Rogan without invoking the entire universe. Joe Rogan, alien comes along, says, what's that? Joe Rogan. What's Joe Rogan? It's a human. What's a human? Bipedal ape. What's an ape on the earth? What's the earth? Planet. What's a planet? Solar system. Where was the carbon made? Inside stars, right? It's like I have to create the entire universe to just say the words Joe Rogan. So in that sense, you're connected to everything. It's inseparable. So the answer to that question of do I matter is I am nothing and I am everything. And you'll find this with all the great questions. The answers are all paradoxes, which is why at some level it's sort of pointless to pursue them, to find a trite answer like I'm giving. But the act of pursuing them is actually really useful, because then it gives you certain intrinsic understanding in your life that brings a level of peace.
I don't know if this is just placebo, but I do feel a little bit of peace. I haven't found any answers. But the realization that nobody has found any answers is kind of nice.
Why do you seek the meaning of life?
I think that for me at least, I'm a religious person, and I find comfort in not knowing. But sometimes if I ever am doubting what I believe in a religious sense, I try and find a reason why I shouldn't believe in it. that's really the only time that I'll ever be like, okay, what is the meaning of life?
Because it's a burning question that everybody has that is unanswered, and that's just
But
who
why
we are.
do we have the question?
Because we have consciousness. We're always evolving, and we have these questions that are unanswered. What if consciousness is the meaning of life? I mean, the whole meaning of life is being conscious.
Probably, yeah. Because we could be the first ones to ever do it.
Unlikely.
We now have the will of the universe. I'm sure you did at some point.
I don't think I ever did specifically, no. No, I don't think I did.
You never wondered why we were here and all that?
No.
What is the meaning of life?
I think it's either the wrong question or that question is answered by paying sufficient attention to any present moment such that there's no basis upon which to pose that question. It's not a matter of having more information. It's having more engagement with reality as it is in the present moment, or consciousness as it is in the present moment. You don't ask that question when you're most captivated by the most important thing you ever pay attention to. That question only gets asked when you're abstracted away from that experience, that peak experience, and you're left wondering, why are so many of my other experiences mediocre? You're not sunk into the present moment, and you're not truly in love. Like, you're in a relationship with somebody who you know, conceptually you love, right? This is the person you're living your life with, but you don't actually feel good together. In those moments where attention hasn't found a good enough reason to truly sink into the present, until you learn to meditate, you think that the outside world, or the circumstances of your life, always have to get arranged so that the present moment can become good enough to demand your attention. If it's jujitsu, you think, okay, I got to get back on the mat. It's been months since I've trained. It's been over a year since I've trained. It's COVID. But when am I going to be able to train again? That's the only place I feel great, right? Or, I've got a ton of work to do. I'm not going to be able to feel good until I get all this work done, right? So I've got some deadline that's coming. You always think that your life has to change, the world has to change, so that you can finally have a good enough excuse to just be here, and here is enough. I mean, meditation is another name for the discovery that you can actually just train yourself to do that on demand.
Perhaps the meaning of life isn't a goal to be pursued, but something that is articulated in the art of living itself. Dang. While I've been sort of doing this thing, for a while it was upsetting me. And then I was thinking about Elon Musk's idea of first principles. You know how you trace everything back to the first principle, to the first thing. So I was like tracing existence back to the first thing. It's like humans and dinosaurs, blah, 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 then Big Bang and all that. And it all leads to something. At some point, there was nothing. Even if you believe in God, it's like, okay, what created God? At some point, there was nothing. So meaning can't come from nothing. Something can't come from nothing. The only reason is something rather than nothing. So then if we are the universe experiencing itself, aren't we then the something that was created from nothing that has to then bestow meaning onto the universe? I know it's a weird thought, but it's like the first time where I've ever thought about it in a way of, oh, you create your own meaning. I used to hear that and think, I hate you. Mm-hmm. Now I'm like, wait, but if we are the universe and we're the first people to gain consciousness, and it came from nothing.
But that's assuming that there was nothing. Like, we don't know.
But doesn't something have to come from something? Like, that's the thing. It's like, wow, what do you mean there was never nothing? So, like, what created that, I think our idea of creation might be skewed, but anyway. Uber for Daniel?
Get in the car, fella.
Oh.
So on your profile it said you're a little bit late. Is that correct?
Wait, does it actually say that?
No, but I want to go fast.
Yeah, a couple minutes
All right,
late.
let's go.
You're up. Thanks for the ride, man.
No worries. Don't forget your tip.
Yeah. Definitely.
Hey Siri, play my morning playlist.
Dude, are you kidding me?
Hey man, good morning.
Stop it, it's 7 in the morning.
It's time for a drink.
No, it's not. Let me sleep for once, you freaking psycho.
You baby. Cheers, baby boy.